It is undeniable that as a nation, Malaysia strives to promote peace, justice, and equality towards those who need it. Shouldering the ambitions and aspirations of our leaders has become our king's mission to champion those in need. Presenting under the framework of peace and justice advocated by the United Nations, I only welcome the respected line agitators, Dashi chairperson, honest actor, and not to forget members of the board to our research presentation. As usual, where I hope that everyone present will enjoy and learn with us, for we as a team have decided to focus on the research title, Virtual Space Prevention or Refugee Integration in Malaysia, which is in line with the subtopic of ripple effects of human displacement. Assalamualaikum. My name is Anik Deresh and I'm accompanied with the greatest of partners, man and as well as working behind the veil are two of the most trusted brothers, Mr. Ashraf Haikal and Mr. Naufal. We, the proud sons of SULTAN al-SHAH Pudajaya, hope that the topic of our research will ring true and spread some light to the plight of these people in Malaysia.
According to UNHCR, Malaysia hosts around 182,000 refugees, including Rohingyas, Pakistanis, Yemenis, Syrians, and 50 other races. Though this number may not be astronomical, each one of them represents a living soul who deserves rights to both peace and justice. Our primary focus throughout this whole research will be the struggles of the displaced person. They are people victimized by both internal or external conflicts. But what is a more accurate definition of them?
Well, UNHCR classifies refugees and asylum seekers as victims of national level conflict, which forces them to flee their home residence. This in turn opens them to both physical and mental damages. And as welcoming as Malaysians can be, there are bound to be some limitations to the level of accommodation one can provide to foreign entities. Hamaguchi in 2009 stressed the importance of mutual understanding for acceptance by local communities. Malaysia is cautiously considering providing physical amenities. However, it is unclear whether or not emotional needs are met. Melissa, Deborah, and Mark in 2016 found that a poor mental health results in a reduced productivity in work and in personal life. But summarizing points from the previous slides, our team wishes to explore the depth surrounding the mental health care that the needs are receiving. However, how is this related to the subject of justice?
Just as how we believe that it is the right of any Malaysian to enjoy a positive state of mind, we also believe that it is unjust for DPs to be deprived of a healthy mental health. We have done our research in an effort to put forth this issue so that we could create a more just and prosperous society in Malaysia. It is also noted that by improving the mental state of DPs, Malaysia will positively affect its human capital, and thusly so, the economic sector. We use a twofold research approach, starting with a literature review. This helped us in understanding the scope of action our team can take, as well as the requirements needed for our research to benefit the community. Our initial findings through New York State Immigrant Action 2023 revealed common emotional qualities within DPs that are similar to those of minorities, including challenges in terms of finance and education, as well as experiences of both physical and mental abuse. The question is, what happens when a DP has poor mental health?
Well, to answer your question, in a 2012 study on human rights violations, Forster identified common factors among war-affected individuals experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder. These factors affect both physical and mental well-being, hindering reintegration into society. The research highlights a cycle where poor mental health is influenced by physical conditions and vice versa. Aggressive behavior serves as a barrier to societal integration, perpetuating a cycle of rejection, possibly exacerbated by a lack of communicative skills by the displaced. Negative perceptions from the local community further compound this issue.
We believe that a form of communication is required to ensure a stable flow of information transfer occurs. This will help the DPs let go of their past trauma and help the locals better understand the differences that the DPs may carry. As advocates of both peace and justice, we believe that this is the right step away from the vicious cycle of dread plaguing our world. Not only will this bring justice to the DPs, but it will also create a healthier ecosphere here in Malaysia and pave our road to becoming a first world country. Our primary goal throughout this whole research is to improve communication between DPs and locals and making it more accessible as well as effective. In essence, we aim to intervene and enhance the communication process for DPs. Our research hypothesis would be that DPs are emotionally troubled due to not having an avenue to direct their emotional needs, and that their conversations are limited due to negative perceptions barrier and language barrier. So, what is the solution that we have come up with to overcome this problem?
Through this question, we have decided to apply technology where it matters. We decided to use an online platform to assist our task in helping the DP sustain some level of communication. The platform that we have chosen is Minecraft.
Minecraft.
The main reason that this was chosen is because the platform itself is fun, easy to learn, and less invasive as it allows the DP to work on their platform as they see fit and allows anonymous interaction. Minecraft is well known and globally available. It is available on all platforms and near limitless in terms of creative interpretation. To conduct our because we have assigned AISHAH to assist our DP in recreating a memory of their hometown. Our team has assigned a DP in contact as the memory master who will outfit the virtual world details of their hometown. This will be available to any visitors of that world. Also available will be a Q&A board for visitors can ask any questions they would like.
To quantify aggression, we use an adapted version of the Bus and Perry aggression scale from 1992. We made lexical adjustments to fit our research needs, but maintained the core purpose of the questionnaire. We reduced the number of questions to 12 questions only so that we wouldn't overwhelm the fellow participants while still allocating the four main aggression descriptors, which are hostility, verbal, physical, and anger. We created two sets of questionnaires for the pre-test and the post-test. For the local participating sample, a questionnaire of trustworthiness was adapted and developed based off a general trust scale created by Yamaguchi and Yamaguchi in 1994. We were able to allocate the three main items, which were dependency, faith, and predictability onto 9 sets of pre-test and post-test questionnaires. Here are samples of our questionnaires right over here. The process of applying the questionnaires took us a span of 1 week, but with the help of our accompanying teachers, we were managed to do this task with ease. The local participants were mostly local populations living in or within the range of Putrajaya. To ease and lower participation, a button badge souvenir was prepared for their time and trouble. We structured our data gathering process to allow for better data collection in terms of time and validity of information. Firstly, we initiated a simple trustworthy score questionnaire for the locals. Before the questionnaire was given, a portrait of the DP was given. Also, we initiated an aggression score questionnaire for the DPs. Next, using our mobile devices, we showed to the local participants the Minecraft world that we had created with the help of our DPs. Afterwards, a post-perception test was given to both DPs and locals to identify whether or not a form of communication was established.
As expected, we found that the pre-test showed a median score of a mid-high aggression. Although after our intervention session, our participating sample of DP showed a slight decrease in aggression score that veered from a mid-high to a low aggression score. From the perspective of our locals, it's observed that the post-intervention test showed a slightly more favorable impression towards the DP. This suggests an improvement that locals have become less aggressive towards the DP in question. All in all, we have found that the hypothesis that we proposed has sufficiently proven to be true. Peace and justice is absolute. Everyone should be able to enjoy living in a just society. Although they are not citizens of our nation, it is only fair that we as Malaysians extend our helping hand in ensuring that people live a less stressful life, and as such, we must do our part in enabling a healthy communication plan. Truthfully, we believe that we've conducted this research to the best of our capability. However, we know that there were limitations to our research. Given the opportunity, we believe that restrictions such as skill of research, time constraint, manpower, and access to information can be overcome to give a better research finding. Field of future research that might give us more insight onto the life and plight of the displaced people will be focused on a specific area of the DP population.
Alas, this is the end of our session. We will now open the floor for some questions. Guy in the red shirt. Oh my.
Assalamualaikum. Well, interesting presentation, but I'm a bit interested in the questionnaires that you propose. Can you go into more detail about it?
First of all, I would like to clarify that the questions that we made, well, we didn't made it ourselves. We merely adapted it based off the Yamaguchi and Yamaguchi in 1994 and the Bus and Perry in 1992. Now, these questionnaires, they show specific human qualities, both positive and negative. Specifically in our scenario, it is trustworthiness and aggression. Now, to gain our data, we had to identify which question answers which human quality, aggression or trustworthiness. For example, the question, would you entrust this person to hold your items? That is a question of trustworthiness. While the question, would you follow orders from the Malaysian government? That is a question for aggression. Ultimately, to gain our final data, we had to add up all of the scores to their respective scores, which is aggression and trustworthiness, to attain the final data. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
First of all, that's very interesting presentation. So my question is, why do you think using virtual world will help provide mental support towards these displaced people?
Thank you for the question, and a good question that is. Well, our research has proven that after our intervention session, our participating sample of DP showed a decrease in aggression score. This shows that through our virtual world, we have succeeded in providing some level of peace towards the DPs. However, to answer your question more thoroughly, we believe that with our virtual world, we provide the DP a safe haven for them to express their feelings and pent up emotions. The DPs are already struggling enough with physical challenges that they don't have anywhere to express their emotions. We also believe that our virtual world provides a sense of nostalgia and safety towards the DP as it was built by a DP in contact to recreate a memory of their hometown. I would like to also remind you that the platform we chose is Minecraft. Minecraft is globally available on all platforms, which means that the DP will be able to use the virtual world whenever they would like to. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you for the Q&A. I would like to invite the judges to ask.
Well, the question, the virtual world built based on their own time. We did have contact help us recreate their village. So since that they had to flee their countries because of war and stuff, and moreover, the village gives them a sense of home again, and it gives them a sense of belonging that the DPs can have in the country that they seek shelter to. So with that, they will become less aggressive as they have somewhere to finally relieve themselves with all the emotions that they've built up, all the losses that they have. They can express it in the virtual world because it isn't just a virtual world. They can also put any signs they would like to. They can rebuild their house or rebuild any memory they would like to, which gives them a sense of peace. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you for the interesting presentation. Thank you all the judges for your time. For our system, and see the other questions from the participants, then boleh ask questions. Right, because tadi ada itu tak tulisan. Oh yeah. No, there was supposed to be only
The other list is for your citizen no limits.
Well, this year kata ada limit maximum. Because for yesterday, yesterday. Oh, yesterday there was a lot. There were a lot of questions told us. Then, is the next round a lot more? Kalau misalnya misalnya Now, I would like to invite our second team, Sekolah Menengah Sains, HULU Selangor.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to honorable judges, teachers, students, and participants. Today, I will be presenting statistics, which is peace and justice, with the topic the ripple
are several earthquakes that happen in Kahramanmaras and Hatay that affect both Turkey and Syria in this February. Several earthquakes that happen there affect Turkey and Syria and trigger around 4 million of internal displacement in Turkey alone.
Let me introduce you to our team members. My name is Naim. We have Amir, teacher Nana,
Me, and me, Iman. To gain a deeper comprehension of the subject matter, we have emphasized selected terms for us to explain. There are three main ones, which is ripple effects, displacement, and natural disaster. Going to the first one, which is ripple effects. Do you know that ripple effects are like the wave you see when you throw a pebble into a pond? It is something that you see, it is something that you do that can lead to many other things, sometimes in unexpected ways. Displacement is when something moves away from where it was before. And lastly is natural disaster. Natural disaster is when our nature acts in such a powerful and destructive way. Think of things like big storms, earthquakes, or floods. This event can cause a lot of damages and problems to the people and the environment. Moving on, there are a lot of reasons on why we should take this problem as a serious matter. But our main objective today is to highlight the ripple effects of human displacement caused by natural disaster. So, Naim, what is the problem statement?
well, to answer that question, the first problem statement is delay of future workers. In simple terms, the government can sometimes take a lot of time to finalize their decisions in taking actions towards the country. In the time being, we as humans have to help each other to the people. Next is the effects of natural disasters causes limited help from other countries. Other countries do not have the ability to help their neighboring countries of the victims of natural disasters. This is mainly because those are being lost by landslides, earthquakes, or even floods. And lastly, the rising rates of human disease. Fortunately, we have found the solutions to all these problems.
We approach our research using a variety of methods to ensure we gain comprehensive understanding of our topic. Firstly, we conducted online research, which involved us exploring the internet to gain information and resources regarding our topic from various trusted websites. Next, we took a more traditional route by conducting offline research, where we physically visited libraries to access books and documents that were not available online. After we gathered all the materials from offline and online research, we did an intensive reading process to ensure we gained a full understanding of our topic. Lastly, we studied surveys that we found online upon our research.
Now, let's take a look at an example of natural disaster, which is flood that happened recently in India, forcing people out of their houses, mainly because their houses are being destroyed or even filled with water.
In the immediate aftermath, once the storm had passed, even amid the rescues, the scope of the disaster was masked by darkness. It was Libyan TV that later showed the true devastation. Entire neighborhoods wiped out by sudden catastrophic flooding. In the immediate aftermath,
Now let's take a look at an example of this statistic of human displacement that happened in Somalia. As you can see, the yellow part is the displaced people that is caused by drought. Drought is known to reduce the production of human resources due to the water that's needed by farm crops. The number have increased to 1.2 million by the year 2018. Just imagine all the struggles these people had to go through. Isn't this our universal responsibility?
Before looking to the ripple effect, here are the statistics recorded in our country. In this picture over here, it shows the disaster events reported in our country from 2008 until 2022. As everybody can see, what is the most frequent natural disaster that happened in our country? Moving on to this bar chart where it shows the internal displacement from 2008 until 2022. During those 8 years, the internal displacement in our country was 144,000. However, what are the ripple effects of human displacement caused by natural disasters? and lack the comfort of home, adding to the stress and discomfort experienced by those affected. Natural disaster often causes severe damage to the homes and complete destruction. In many cases, human displacement could be even more continued when the displaced people first face the challenge of long-term displacement, as rebuilding houses can take months or even years, depending on the scale of the disaster. We take the frequent flooding case that happened in Shah. In just 3 years, there have been 8 major floods that happened in Shah. This shows the significant flood problems the area is facing. In one of our research, we went on Mudah.9 where we found out that the homes that in resale in that neighborhood encounter some difficulties as potential buyers worry about their steadiness due to the fact that Shah is a flood-prone area. This shows that human displacement and loss of homes can cause severe psychological effects on people that is affected by that could lead to post-traumatic stress disorder or anxiety and even depression.
Our country did not experience big natural disaster like what happened to the other country, but we had several cases of human displacement resulting from natural disaster. To take example, in Shah Alam, Klang in November 2022. An article written by Malaysia's News states that there are 16 flood victims that need to be evacuated to the flood relief center. They were sent to Al Falah Mosque Relief Center, and there was around 56 flood victims and coming from 14 families after 3 days. But how are the ripple effects of human displacement caused by natural disaster related to Malaysia's economy? Ladies and gentlemen, this is because the flood had a huge impact on the houses, making them unfit to live in. Consequently, there was a pressing need for them to repair and renovate the houses to make it habitable again. This caused the government spending to increase. In response to natural disaster, the government always provide a large funds for recovery efforts, rescuing operations, and disaster relief. Apart from that, in January 2022, the government of Malaysia confirmed that the flood that happened in 2021 has caused a big harm. Apart from that, we also confirm that the damages done causes 2 billion ringgit Malaysia and 1.6 billion ringgit Malaysia that caused by the damages of homes.
Now, what are the solutions to this matter? The solutions are first, food banks. Food banks are public centers that provide free food for people to eat. In Iraq, they have helped over 1 million of displaced people that are in need of food. Next, by supporting host communities, we can help the displaced people and host communities live in a higher quality houses and shelters. And lastly, of course, agriculture technology. Help food resources to be produced in much larger quantity and a much faster process. In Jordan, they have helped Syrian refugees to grow much more food resources with the help of hydroponics and vertical farming.
Ladies and gentlemen, in our presentation, we have told you the ripple effects of human displacement caused by natural disaster such as loss of homes and the government spending increasing and more. However, we should know that natural disaster can be avoided, but there are ways that we already told you to decrease the ripple effects of human displacement. We are sorry for any inconvenience, and with that, thank you.
Thank you for the informative presentation. I would like to invite the members of the floor to ask questions.
In your opinion, as a teenager, what can you provide to help the displaced people or community?
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Let's continue from our third team. Sekolah Menengah Sains, Tuanku Aisyah Rohani. Picture a scene where the forest became a shield, a haven for the orang asli in Kampung Kuala Ko, Gua Musang, Kelantan.
To the Orang Asli's nomadic nature, human displacement occurs. Yet with great neglect, we often foresee the endeavor of human displacement in becoming a hope for our Orang Asli.
So before that, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I bid to the honorable judges, fair timekeepers, Mr. Speaker, rapporteur, and everyone present on the floor today. Through the dark of night, we turn on the light. Hello, my name is Sarifah binti Abu Sufyan, and I'll be your first speaker for today.
And hello, my name is Wani Shira, and I'll be your second presenter as of today, introducing our undyingly loyal team members, Noor Arish Hazwin as our technical assistant, and Noor Ashisha Kaisara as our moderator and rapporteur.
We, the representative of Sekolah Menengah Sains Tuanku Aisyah Rohani, here stand tried and true with our stance entitling human displacement, a mechanism of hope for our Orang Asli. To further ease the discourse our presentation for today, I'll be doing the first half, and in continuation, Iman will do the other half. Sentiment. Do you know or do you realize that the event of human displacement occurred within the demography of Malaysia too? So what is human displacement? Conceptual definition derived from United Nations High Commission of Refugees is that human displacement is a person or group who has been forced or who has been obliged to flee from their places of their habitual residence. It came from the after effect to avoid armed conflict, situation of generalized violence, violation of human rights, or natural or human-made disaster. So we can now all agree that our sole objective of this presentation is to understand the ripple effects of human displacement towards our indigenous community in Malaysia. So by this objective, we are focusing on to three aspects, which is how human displacement can be a positive connotation. Secondly, how human displacement can holistically encompass the global spectrum of migration. Thirdly, how we can find resolution to custom to human displacement. So, without further ado, let's dive further into the heart of Kampung Kuala Ko, Gua Musang, Kelantan, during the movement control order in the year of 2020, when the Batik tribe displaced themselves to the forest to save themselves from the COVID-19. So, problem statement present here is that human displacement in general is perceived as a negative connotation by the global spectrum. People think that they are not properly being acclimatized to all this kind of thing. Hence, the operationalized definition of ours is that the event involving displaced Orang Asli individuals during the movement control order of COVID-19 in the year of 2020. By human displacement, they are able to procure justice and attain peace. And we can show you throughout our findings that this is the viable mechanism. So, why do we choose on studying the Orang Asli community? Firstly, they are a marginalized community, which is deemed as insignificant and indifferent to the latter demography within the nation. Secondly, it is our responsibility as a citizen of Malaysia today to first understand the perspective and its effect towards our people first before we can affiliate to a global spectrum of migration. Okay, so in relative of our SDG15, which is peace, justice, and strong institution, is that when human displacement occur, it can strengthen the goal itself, which is to promote peace and inclusive societies and provide access to justice and building effective integration through institutions to preserve rights towards our community, indigenous community, and the global community of migration.
Now, to understand the sole objective of our presentation, which falls under the three aspects that Arifa has told you, three levels of methodologies were utilized in order to analyze and extract our data. So the first level of methodology in which we had to utilize was a qualitative case study paradigm in which we triangulate secondary data from sources of mainstream media and research articles themselves. So within our findings, we found that three events took place. So the first event in which had took place was that the Orang Asli of Kampung Paliko had fled or displaced themselves further into the forest as a preventive measure to COVID-19. Secondly, they did not have the abundance of basic necessities, i.e., clean water, food, and access to education like they had used to. And thirdly, they would then move very suddenly to a COVID crisis center in which did not befit their nomadic way of life. Here's where the problem statement actually presents itself, right? Because when people do not actually stress or actually take into account that human displacement is in fact a positive solution for the Orang Asli themselves, people will find that as a problematic solution altogether. So within our findings, we also found out that they use the same approach of human displacement when they are faced with the cholera and chickenpox disease, in which we concluded that the ripple effects of human displacement for the Orang Asli community themselves is that they are able to procure peace and justice as a solution to human displacement. So the second level of methodology in which we had utilized was interviews with subject matter scholars. We interviewed an associate professor who were in with the lines of the work of the Orang Asli within Kampung Paliko themselves and had done further research onto that community in order to transcribe the fact that human displacement is in fact their viable mechanism to actually procure a better quality of life. So the third level of methodology in which we had utilized was a snowball semi-ended question form methodology in which we actually create a Google form and target it to individuals who were in with the lines of the work of the Orang Asli on a daily basis, so that we can understand a much more retrospective view on human displacement itself. And they'll pass or snowball it to the next person who have similar expertise as them. The first question in which we had asked was that how can human displacement be a positive approach, right? The first analysis that we had is that cultural exchange and enrichment can happen because when people from different communities actually displace themselves into other states or areas, this interaction can happen. So secondly, policies in which maximizes gains and minimizes risk can be present because when people actually uphold the fact that it's a part of their custom to actually practice this and it is a positive connotation, people will find solutions to maximize the gains of human displacement itself. Thirdly, it can improve the overall well-being and protect the people from immediate hazards, just like what the Orang Asli within Kampung Paliko had been practicing during those times of pandemic itself. So the second question in which we had asked was that, do you think that human displacement can incessantly procure peace and justice? Now, the general basis of idea that people have is that yes, to a certain point, it can in fact procure peace and justice. But let's see, the general basis of idea that people have is that they affiliate it only to wars and general violence, which means that this shows how marginalized the community and who practices human displacement and is a part of them on a daily basis thinks of human displacement. They cannot see beyond the fact that human displacement should be upheld and is actually important to these people itself. The third question in which we had asked was that why is it viable and important for us to discuss human displacement within the perspectives of the Orang Asli themselves? So the first analysis in which we had achieved was that education and awareness can be upheld because we actually shed light on the issue that it should be a positive connotation. Secondly, actions of vulnerability that leads to huge biodiversity loss can be halted because we actually find solutions to custom to human displacement within the Orang Asli's demography. Thirdly, because they are a marginalized community, or as Arifa said, subjected to insignificance and indifference, we should actually shed light and vouch for their rights, just like what every person within this hall today deems to have. So 3 levels of recommendations in which we suggest that even though human displacement is a viable mechanism for them to procure a better quality of life, their transition will be further done with ease if another outbreak does in fact happen. So the first level of recommendation in which we suggest is an adapting to Orang Asli custom policy implementation that can be implemented by Jakua themselves. Let's see for the fact that in the pandemic of the year 2020, they used a top-to-bottom policy instead of bottom-to-top, meaning that they actually used the general policy in which was given. You must understand that that policy itself does not always cater to the entirety of the demography within the nation itself, especially those whom are within the Orang Asli community. So instead, we follow a bottom-to-top policy in which we actually study the needs and wants of them during those times of outbreaks, if another outbreak does happen in the future. Secondly, a social culture appropriate welfare scheme that, in collaboration with the Ministry of Rural and Regional Development and MOE themselves, can be implemented. Why the MOE? Because let's see, the justification during these times is that their educational aspects was heavily neglected on. You want to justify them for the education, just like everyone else within the nation during those times. Thirdly, a local participatory collaboration with NGOs can be implemented because to actually understand the perspectives of human displacement is to be with the community itself. So we actually want to organize collaborative programs and field trips with the community itself in order for us to uphold understanding and mitigate the effects of marginalization.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's look beyond the naked eye and uphold the two perspectives that we can conclude today. First, the perspective of the Orang Asli themselves is that they can attain peace, justice, and gradually prosper when we validate them into using human displacement as their solution. Secondly, the perspective of the latter demography, which, like you and me, we are now able to connotate human displacement positively, and we can relate it to a global spectrum of migration. So, the ripple effects of human displacement is, in fact, a mechanism of hope for our Orang Asli. Thank you for the fascinating presentation. Now I would like to invite the participants to ask some questions.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Zikri as a representative from Alam Shah Science School. Nice presentation, by the way. The question that I'm here to give you is that we see that the solution and recommendations you give are such as the third one, NGOs. Now, my question is, what is the incentivization of these NGOs to actually collaborate with each other? Why do they actually do this collaboration when they can actually do it themselves? That's my question. That's all.
Thank you for your question. To answer that, now to understand SDG 15, it's an actual integration of institutions to actually mitigate the effects of human displacement and marginalization itself. So we see that because they actually have the same collaborative goal in actually vouching for the rights of the Orang Asli community themselves, we see that they can actually uphold the fact of SDG 15 and actually create awareness amongst the latter demography to actually understand that human displacement is in fact a positive change for them and the Orang Asli themselves. So thank you. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you for the participants' questions. I would like to invite the judges to ask some questions.
Hi, ladies. One question that is pertaining to one thing that sparks my interest, the word triangulation. All right. Now, kindly explain to us what is triangulation and also why is triangulation necessary in this particular research? Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. That's actually a very interesting question. And we hope that we can understand that as of today. So why triangulation is because we actually holistically encompass both those sources of mainstream media and research articles themselves. We actually do comparisons, and we actually try to extract as much data from those triangulation itself. So actually it's a very simple word, and it's not as much, it's not really that complicated as well. But I hope that understands your.
Thank you. You may now be seated. Now, I would like to invite the fourth school, Sekolah Menengah Sains PASU.
Thank you, moderator. A very good afternoon to fair judges, wise timekeepers, and members of the floors. We from KUBANG PASU Science School here to talk about the perception of social and cultural effects of refugees on host communities. Our team were assigned with Sub-Team 6, the ripple effects of human displacement with SDG16, peace and justice. Before going any further, let me first introduce to you the hardworking team behind today's research. The team consists of me, Ella Suryandi, who will be today's presenter, alongside ROHANI, assisted by Ikwan Rosmadi and Anis Nabila. Our team were coordinated by the lovely Madam Nur Shafiza Bintino. So, I'm going to introduce to you the topic that we'll be discussing today. First of all, do you know what is the meaning of human displacement? Human displacement is a forced movement of a person from one location to another, often based on an outside force or combination of forces, both human-made and natural. There are many causes for human displacement, and that includes war, political divisions, and natural disasters. As of May 2023, more than 110 million individuals were forcibly displaced worldwide. This marks the largest every single year increase in human displacement in UNHCR's history, propelled by the war in Ukraine and other deadly conflicts. Now I'll be breaking down the title of our presentation to you today, word by word. The perception. Perception is the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through the senses. Meanwhile, social meant something relating to society or its organization. Cultural is something relating to customs, norms, and social behavior of a society. And effects meant a change or a consequence of a result of an action or other cause. Meanwhile, host communities takes the meaning of a community that hosts large populations of refugees and internally displaced persons, whether in camps, integrated into households, or independently.
Everyone. Thank you, Alex, for ending with outstanding introduction. Now let's move on to the 4 key factors on why refugees choose our country, Malaysia, to seek for asylum. Number 1 is being our country is relatively safe for them because our country is tight with hospitality and have a very minimal cases of violence against refugees. Second is the geographical location of our country that is located in 3 countries and is suffering from refugee issues such as Myanmar and Vietnam. Third is economic opportunities our country has given this country, such as working in laboring work like agriculture, manufacturing, also industrial. And last but not least is the languages. This is because Malaysia is packed with ethnicity and also cultural in diverse with languages, hence make it very easy for our fellow refugees to speak from life. These are the 3 of the literature reviews that inspired us to do this research. And one is given by TUANKU, the speaker of Dewan Rakyat, has stated that most Malaysians have a very negative perception towards refugees. And second is an article written by us on the growing skepticism among Malaysians regarding refugees and going from this. But this is all to our study. Ladies and gentlemen, out of all the issues that we have covered in this research, 4 of them which we stood out to us. With number 1 being the cultural exchange, right? The culture that has been brought into our country. And second is the integration and communication. And aligning all of these different cultures
see is interaction and relationship of these two parties becoming harmonized. Out of all the four issues, two of them have been our complicated because integration and simplification, the concept in which both communities integrate with each other while facing different kind of challenges and boundaries. And also the cultural exchange impact that changes cultural dynamics such as traditions, languages, and also social norms. We have done a quantitative research focusing on students of trauma society. We have Google Form that has been divided into three parts, which is our responder profile and type of refugees, and lastly is the type of control. All the data was distributed to different hospitality and was keyed in by our team planning. In total of 8 responders from of that are from 8 different states, of the highest being from Kedah and second on the list being from Selangor. By using the Likert scale, our survey has a range of first being from 1938 to last being from 1938. The data collected from the responder profile and selected items to the has been transferred to the percentage form and mean for similar survey to the perception of the social and cultural effects of the as same as our title, the objective of doing this research is to discover the perception of what are the perception of fellow Malaysians towards refugees of the social and cultural effects they have faced. Hence, of the main objective, we have gauged fellow Malaysians' exposure and promote a more inclusive and harmonized society that could inform policymakers in making a better initiative for different class of understanding. From the survey, we thought that the most responses would be more people from urban areas, more positive, rather than people from rural areas and negative.
Okay, so aforementioned, the findings of our survey is that respondents living in urban areas have a slightly more positive response towards refugees rather than respondents living in suburban areas. And we have compiled reasons to why respondents respond a certain type of way towards refugees and have our literature reviews as support to the claim. First of all, in the positive perceptions is, according to an article by Paolo Vermey, refugees living in the city can work in laboring sectors. This will not only benefit the refugees as source of income, but it can also help our country economically. Second, on the positive perspective, is some host communities generally have more exposure towards refugees. This is thanks to the fact that they are living in an area that are more exposed to refugees, hence they are more likely to encounter and acknowledge the presence of refugees, hence the positive response. Lastly, according to Muhammad Yasir Aslan, refugees from neighboring countries can help enriching a culture in a society and can enhance cultural diversity within the society. However, an article by Melissa Siegel has something more to add to that, with her article saying the rise of new cultures and lifestyles in the society may cause discomfort among the host communities. Next in the negative perceptions is language barrier. According to Harun Rizai, language barrier is one of the biggest part of the reason why host communities have a negative perceptions towards refugees. It is because with the existence of language barriers, it is harder for host communities and refugees to interact with each other. So the chance of having a verbal conflict is at an all-time high. Lastly, according to another article by Paolo Vermey, he said that an influx or a surge in refugees in certain areas may cause overpopulation, which can cause overcrowding of services and can lead to shortage like water, electricity, and hospitality. This is especially more apparent towards areas that have a much smaller and slower service.
This is our responder profile. As mentioned before, the percentage from students being from Kedah is 76%, and from being from Selangor is 8%. From our survey, quite a large number of respondents have responded with a mixed response. Hence, it is very sure that a lot of students have a mixed response and are not knowledgeable to
Like Director Hani said, the responses we get have a significant amount of numbers of mixed responses. However, it is undeniable that some of these mixed responses may be contributed to the respondents' lack of knowledge and lack of awareness towards refugees and effects they may bring culturally and socially.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Out of all the questionnaires that were distributed, the response to this one question particularly had out, which is the question: do you believe that the arrival of refugees often results in cultural and on language and cultural barriers? With the total number of percentage of 32.5% of them being disagree, it has found that this actual stigma around these refugees around this group is actually false.
So after conducting this research, we finally realized that this research is a multifaceted research. Before conducting this study, we thought that the responses were only going to be negative and positive. But after this research, we also encountered with mixed perspective, despite having some iffy feelings about the mixed perspective, considering there are some respondents who are unaware of the effects that refugees can bring. So we can conclude the perceptions into positive perspective, negative perspective, and mixed perspective. So here are the recommendations from our team in hope to resolving this problem. First is empowering refugees with economic opportunities. This will not only benefit the refugees in the source of income, but it can also help our country economically. Second is providing equal opportunities for all, regardless of race, religions, or background. This is to create a more inclusive and accepting society in Malaysia. Last is build empathy and create an understanding towards the plight of refugees. This is to help Malaysians as host communities to refugees in raising awareness and acknowledging the everlasting presence of refugees in our society. So we can conclude that high school students, in this case, our subject is KUPSIS students, are invalid to give their perceptions on the effects that refugees may bring culturally and socially, not unless they are exposed to more knowledge and awareness towards refugees and effects they may bring to our country. These are the references from our study. Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I would like to invite the members of the floor to ask some questions.
All right, thank you for the presentation. As we can see today, because of human displacement, there's a lot of refugees going out of various countries. But so my question here is, how, as in Malaysia, are we able to balance the amount of refugees who are trying to take citizenship, trying to take away the jobs and occupancy in Malaysia, making it unstable? Please respond. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. As a student, there is nothing much that we can do about that. However, as a world-class leader, we are able to create policies in protecting refugees' rights because as of right now, refugees have no legislative certifications in working in our country formally, despite being an integral part of our society. So we, as world-class leader, we are going to create a policy in hope to balance the citizens and the refugees' rights so they do not contradict with one another, however, live in harmony alongside each other. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, so as you know,
human displacement can cause mental instability among refugees. So, what are your solutions toward this matter?
Thank you so much for the question. With that question, we may answer, it is already depressing enough that the refugees have to be displaced into other countries. So I think as host communities, in helping with the mental stability, we can help providing proper hospitality for the refugees in hope to help them in decreasing their mental stability, in increasing the mental health. Thank you.
Now I'd like to invite the judges to ask some questions.
Actually, I think you were talking about the part where we compiled reasons to positive responses from the respondents. It is data collected from our reads that refugees may bring more cultural dynamics in our society. It can help in enriching the cultures and traditions in the society. However, it is balanced out with an article saying that with too much new lifestyles and cultures, there can be a rise of discomfort within the host communities residing in the areas that the refugees are displaced to.
Not only from just that, we can see that the rise of different languages, the multi-languages from people staying in host communities, you can see that it has enhanced the positive perspective on refugees.
Thank you. You now may be seated. Last but not least, I would like to invite our fifth team, SBPI GOPENG, to present. Study revealed that as for 2022, at least 37.1 million people has been forced to flee their homes. Accordingly, has caused the both the refugee and the host country to face a change in environmental, political, social, and economy. The impacts of refugee situation on the socio-economic conditions can be both positive and negative. On one hand, refugee may contribute to the socio-economy of the host country by bringing their skills, knowledge, and labor forces, and on the other hand, hosting refugees may result in a strain on the economy of the host country.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. We are team GOPENG. Let's look at it. I myself am and servant Javier. So I decided not to join on this fine day. We are going to discuss big topic, which is how refugee influence socioeconomic of both countries. We have divided our presentation into 10 parts, including introduction, the refugee situation, 5 different points, a list of resources, a conclusion, and the second. So, before we get into the topic, let me know what the topic war, persecution, or natural disaster, or social economy. First, social science study how economic activity affects and is shaped by social processes.
Nowadays, the rise of the refugee population among the members of humanity attain the concern of society as it conveys an immense influence on the global socio-economic, notably as to the employment market, health, and education, not to mention the solidarity of the nation, whether the effects are positive or negative. This research aims to explore how the rising numbers of refugees affects the socio-economic status of the host country, the lifestyle of the escapee, the positive and negative acts to the policies involved, and the solutions to mitigate challenges posed by the influx of refugees. As we focusing more on the European countries, we conducted a qualitative, qual- qualitative research by means meta-analysis study, reviewing governmental policies and scholarly articles and analysis of findings in order to obtain a clear result of the study. First and foremost, we're going to explain to you the refugee situation the global community faces. We're going to start with the impact on the refugees. 1. Refugee may suffer from underemployment due to unsuitable job that doesn't match their skills and qualification. 2. Issues like language barriers, lack of local work experience, and discrimination can result in exiled individuals accepting jobs with lower wages and fewer benefits. 3. Exiled people may be forced to work in informal sectors due to limited opportunities such as domestic and home-based workers, street vendors, and waste pickers. Lastly, there might be a low educational opportunity for children and teenagers due to poverty and exclusion, such as racism. There are also a few significant impacts of the refugee situation to the host country, which are we going to look truly at today. Labor market dynamics, the cultural and societal influence, the challenges and integration, educational contributions, and also humanitarian aid and assistance. Moving to the first impact on the labor market dynamics. First of all, what is meant by labor market dynamics? Labor market dynamics refers to changes in jobs that take place as well as entries into and departures from economic activity. An influx of refugees constitute an expensive supply side shock to the local labor market. A labor supply shock tends to increase competition in the labor market and reduce residents' wages. Secondly, the impact on informal sector wages may be substantial, and resident informal workers may incur sizable income losses and unemployment. The large number of refugees also represents an economic shock to the local labor market. However, there are a few positive effects gained for the same issue. For instance, financial support to the host country from the international community, refugees attract development agencies and international donors, and also contribute skills and knowledge to the local community. Next up is the cultural and society influence. As the amount of population of the displaced increases, more diversity is required to provide significant opportunities for positive intergroup contact between refugees and the host country. This includes formal and informal social networks. Research shows that a significant positive association with organization membership in the country is present, as well as inhabitants' propensity to give informal help. In a cross-European study with a more limited topic of focus, the ethnic diversity in trade unions shows a negative association, and most evidence from developed countries shows the presence of migrants in general weakens social networking within community, thus stressing the role of differing social environments. In another cross-European study by Lawrence and Bentley on 2018, a positive net effects on rising diversity on attitudes towards the immigrants was found. Yet, there is no asset study resulting in a more positive or negative outcome.
Now, let's talk about challenges and integration. Both academic and public and direct perspective and Europe as this debate often for the involves the role of one. In fact, refugees are excluded from their employment with educational qualifications from 28 years. Restoration of socioeconomic rights often includes less involvement and of right. Refugee success, socioeconomic rights, and poverty matters fundamentally for one, two, and three. These are rights, welfare, and poverty. Socioeconomic integration is both a process and an outcome. First, the participation of refugees within local, national, or global market. Socioeconomic integration is not an alternative to or a European solution. It is a necessary condition for full protection any of global solutions. Moving onwards, let's talk about educational solutions as refugees contribute to most countries by changing their unique culture, language, and academic background. Without further ado, let's break down the three major factors of refugee education for most countries. First of all, language and cultural. Well, some of the refugees may be used to be educated, such as teachers, or translators. These ex-educators may become or bounce back and as providing language instruction or translation for students.
Next is community outreach, as they also help to promote education and skills training within the refugee community, thus helping to reduce the literacy gap and improves the employment prospects. And finally, innovation. What does it mean? Innovation means it implicates new ideas and perspectives to the education sector by promoting innovation and changes for the better. As of humanitarian aid and assistance, I'd like to break it down into three major impacts, which are economic stability, social dynamics, and environmental impact. Here are several references and sources of case studies that are related to refugees. These are case studies reported by scholars from all around the world. You may have a look. As a conclusion, what do you think of the rise of refugee population among the members of humanity truly attain the concern of society? Thus, this opens up new opportunities and for more research and findings regarding the questions that may arise. For instance, what kind of role do refugee entrepreneurship play in shaping the economic landscape of host countries and how to promote it? Or you can also, what is the environmental impact of hosting large refugee populations and how sustainable practices can be integrated into refugee camps and host communities? Organizations and agencies are suggested to focus on providing an actual quality education and skills development programs for refugees to enhance their employability and economic contributions to host countries. To be able to create a job placement initiatives that connect refugees with suitable employment opportunities and offer training to bridge the gap in skill. As of global communities, countries are supposed to willingly share their responsibility for hosting refugees by providing financial aid, resources, and expertise to support host nations. To advocate civil society and individuals can play a big role in in advocating for refugee rights and pressing governments to adopt more inclusive policies.
Before we end our session, I would like to thank all my fellow friends for making our presentation possible, and for the members of the board, the dear judges, for lending your ears, and also to Sekolah Menengah Sains Sultan Mahmud for providing hospitality during our stay here. We wish you all prosperity and peacefulness, as well as good health physically and spiritually for years to come. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you for the interesting presentation. I would like to invite the members of the floor to ask some questions.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. Okay, in your own opinion, do you think Malaysia has been a good host country to refugees?
In my opinion, as we can see, in Malaysia, we have so many NGO that actually cares for the refugee, as Malaysia is one of the country that a refugee goes to in when they have when they suffer from natural disaster and everything happen in the human displacement issue. So I think Malaysia has been a good host country in providing the necessities of the refugees. We mentioned it before. The objective of our research is to um, yeah, sure. I'm sorry. As we mentioned earlier, our research objective is to explore how the rising number of refugees affects the socio-economic status of the host country, and and as we know, socio-economic contains on two aspects, which are social and economy, and the findings we get from the culture and society, which is the social parts of the socio-economic aspect, is that the refugee could contribute positively and also bring harm to the culture and society of the host community.
Thank you for the participants, and thank you all to the judges for your time. That's our session today.